Hey, welcome to Bridging the Gap, our first interview of the year with Jimmy Lawson. Um, he is one of my mentors. He has been heavily involved with Julius Jones. He's his best friend. He's played basketball at the highest level. He's got politician, professor. The list goes on and on and on. So, hey, Jim, how you doing
What's
today?
going on, y'all? What's going on, Kev? Doing good,
Um,
man.
But then we have Brittany. Brittany is the co-leader of Bridging the Gap. She is she's my cousin. Um, she handles everything to do with Bridging the Gap. She's super passionate.
Hey everybody.
So
Glad to have you on for episode Jimmy with the Shimmy.
Hey, I like that. I like that ringtone. That's hot.
It's like, keep it as a party. It's a party.
So Jimmy, obviously you've been on my YouTube channel. That was pre-election, so it's post-election. So can you tell us about just the whole process and talk about post-election and kind of what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure, man. First and foremost, thank you to you and Brittany, man, for allowing me to be a part of your all's world with Bridging the Gap. I think it's an amazing opportunity. Voice to, man. So kudos to you and Brittany for putting your minds and thoughts together, man, and allowing me to play a part in that role. So a little bit about, what I just did. So I just recently ran for Oklahoma City mayor. So the unique thing about that was that I was the first ever African-American candidate in the history of Oklahoma City. Think about that. We've been in functionality, right, since 1907. It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's cool to be the first, but on the flip side of that is, man, it's 2022, right? And we
Right.
first Black candidate. Like, what is going on? So a lot of stuff I learned through my experience with the campaign, man, that I'm gonna apply going forward. And one of the unique things that I think this opportunity is really important about is about productivity. Is actually people in our community getting down and actually checking that box, right? A lot of people do a lot of talking. A lot of people want something to change, but not a lot of people really think about the process of how that actually happens. And how that happens, Kev and Brittany, is that you got to physically show your butt up at that box and check the box, right? And use your God-given constitutional right to have your voice heard. So, in a nutshell, I won't bore you with that, but going forward, I think one of the things I learned about this city is that, this city historically has not had a chance to have some diversification with leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a cool deal, man, for me kind of mixing that ball game up about what African-American candidates can do. And the review was good, man. The thing that I didn't have enough was time, really, honestly, right? So my campaign with Justice for Julius ran together, and I never anticipated that. So because of that, I didn't have a lot of additional time, right, for my personal mayor side when it really got down past November, right, with Julius' situation. So I think in the future, we won't have that piece of the pie. So that allowed me to start a little bit earlier and touch some marketplaces that haven't been touched before.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking about your dad a little bit, I know he prophesized a bunch of this stuff. This is such a great story, how you talked about him and just how everything he kind of said became true after you went and worked at it. So me and Brittany were wondering, and everybody else is like, how important is it to step into your calling and to actually do the work?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I had a very unique father, man. He was, in my opinion, one of the greatest God-fearing man. Now, nobody's perfect, but I think his relationship with God really allowed him to drill down about what living and assignments and purposes is all about, man. So long story short, he prophesied to me 4 days before he passed. And he told me what my future was going to look like in connection with Julius and where this path looked like and what the city was going to be doing, man. And 4 days later, he prophesied his own death, right? Sitting down on a lawnmower and voila, he's gone. I'm like, man, this is crazy. A, he talked about it and it happened. I'm like, I'm shocked. And then B, some of the stuff that he told me started to unravel, in my life. So I think it's all important because prophetic words are great and visions are great. Vision boards are amazing. But at the end of the day, The most important piece of the pie, man, is implementation, right? It's productivity, right? We can have a dream and a vision. We can sit on that all day long, but until we are willing to, and I like to use the word willing because nobody can force you to do anything, Kev or Brittany, right? And matter of fact, nobody will even be mad at you if you didn't do anything, right? But imagine what happens when you do decide to say yes, right? And take action on what you're supposed to be doing. So that's what happened for me, man. I decided to say, yes, I'm going to go down this path. And guess what, man? I start touching people's lives that otherwise I never had access to. And they would say to me, hey, man, if you can do it, Jimmy, then I can do it too, right? You're from the same neighborhood with me, bro, right? I didn't grow up with a silver spoon, man. I grinded for everything I did. I got 2 master's degree, undergrad, college professor. I worked for everything I have in my life. So when people in my community say, dang, Jimmy grew up on the same street with me, bro. So, it is possible. And that's what it's all about, man. It's not about, money or fame. It's about your actions and your productivity. Because at the end of the day, here's the key, Brittany, Kevin, when we all die, in which we will all die, and when they put us in that box, I can't take my money with me. I can't take my jewelry with me. But only thing that can last for me is who I am and my character, right? What I stood for. That's what's going to be part of your legacy, man. So I think the name of the game for me was my dad set me up to say, son, right, you are your greatest enemy and you're your greatest threat. So use that as a positive to maximize, whatever you're supposed to do in your life, man. So that's me. That's who I am, man. I'm honored and privileged to be able to have this opportunity, man, to show this city a different speed of the game, if you will. I'm not a politician. I decided 7 months ago, I said, I am not going to be a politician. I'm going to be a man of the people and a man of my word, man. So I always put people first. The dedication I showed Julius Jones proved to my community, right, that whether it's rain, sleet, or snow, right, J Law is going to be there when the wheels fall off.
And Jimmy, also for the people who aren't aware of who Julius is, and especially to you, could you help them, just give them a backdrop of their story and what you have done on that campaign and what it has brought into your life and brought you to the Jimmy with the Shimmy that we get a chance to experience now?
Sure. Julius Jones, the guy in Oklahoma who was wrongfully convicted in 1999 for capital murder, is my best friend. We've been best friends since the 6th grade. One of the smartest individuals. I still say to the day, the guy had like a 30 on his ACT coming out of high school, went to the University of Oklahoma on a full academic scholarship to be an engineering major. I went to Grambling State University in Louisiana, so we split. We came back together in 99 and all this went down. So trial starts. I made a decision. Really, my father really challenged me, to be honest, and says, son, the greatest love in the world is when you can lay your life down for another man. I look in the Bible and I find the verse, I say, oh, dang, that's crazy, right? The Bible talks about the power of holding down another man, right? I thought, well, what does that look like? So I didn't envision all the challenges that I would learn over the next 22 years fighting for my best friend. So long story short, we fast forwarded that. We were blessed and fortunate by Viola Davis in 2018. We shot a documentary called The Last Defense. That went national, was shown on ABC. That gave me and the family an opportunity to tell the real side of the story of why he's innocent. We were able to pick up amazing people like Kim Kardashian, Russell Westbrook, Blake Griffin. I mean, list goes on and on. And lo and behold, on November the 18th, we were able to save his life from execution and had his death sentence converted over to life without parole. It is not what we wanted. We wanted freedom and him to come home, but we live to fight another day.
Yes, definitely. And just watching the interview that you had previously done with Kevin and hearing about that last phone call, because it was 8:45. The last time he did a call was 9:00 p.m. At this time leading up to, even before you got all the publicity came from the campaign, my question is, outside of what your dad challenged you, outside of what you read, what kept you motivated on the days where it didn't look like, when y'all was going through that window frame where y'all wouldn't get an answer about anything? Y'all didn't know if they were going to execute him. You didn't know if your work was all in vain. what kept you motivated in those moments?
That's a great question. You know, that phone call was one of the toughest phone calls that I've had in my entire life. You know, we're talking about within 12 hours of potentially dying for an individual. And I cried, my family cried, my wife, my kids. My kids is like his nieces, so he's crying, we're crying. I'm thinking like, man, this is the last time I have to talk to you. So it was a surreal moment. But what has kept me motivated throughout this time is relatability. And what do I mean by that? Right? He could be me, right? I could be him. It's
Yeah.
that simple, right? He's hanging around a particular individual at the wrong time. He was just as smart as me. I'm smart as he is. So I said, man, that could be me. And guess what? If somebody wasn't fighting for me or using their voice for me, what would probably happen? So in the back of my mind, I thought, man, if I don't use my voice, there's no doubt that the state of Oklahoma will kill this guy. Right.
Yeah.
So that's what kept me motivated. Even when the community was like, man, we love what you're doing, but you don't have a chance. I mean, the hate was real, right? Like, yeah, he's gonna die. It ain't gonna make it. We appreciate what you're doing, J Law, man. But hey, you know, I had to put all that aside of my mind and say, you know, the mission, whether it's positive or negative in the end, right? The mission is about showing people that A, dedication matters, B, character matters, right? And productivity matters, man. So I'm hoping at the end of the road, whenever that may be in my lifetime, and I hope that the foundation is just that.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. And I think that when individuals are riding with their friends thinking that they're invincible to getting into trouble with law, because like my grandmother always used to tell us, trouble is so easy to get into, but it's hard to get out of. And when you're riding around, and especially when you listen to what's being put in the media, especially in our communities, you know, they glorify the gang, like they glorify, you know, being desensitized to death. But when the rubber really hits the road, all the people that are in your car with you, riding with you, will they ride for you when you're in that 8x8 cell and you need them to pour into your life? I also heard, or on the interview that you did with Kevin, just listening to his mental health status of being in jail, because I think this was about year number 19, when he's like, you know, dude, I'm so depressed, I don't even want to go outside for my 1 hour that I get outside of my cell. You know, it's easy for, and I get a chance to mentor and counsel young people often, and I don't think that they think about their reality check when those cell doors shut behind them, or when that casket is closing on their loved one for the last time, or they're in on the hospital stretcher and they getting resuscitated. You know, it's easy to put on the RIP t-shirt, but it's hard to still rep you and represent you and advocate for you when you're still alive, but you're losing your mental health on the inside, because they don't talk about when a letter stop coming, when people stop coming to visit, when people stop putting money on your books. But it's very slim that you would get somebody as loyal and dedicated. So, man, I commend you for that. That's love.
I appreciate it. You know, it wasn't easy. I'm a guy. You know, I got 3 beautiful kids. My oldest 21, middle 16, baby girl's 14. So I coach basketball. I'm a professor. I'm doing this. So I got a lot going on in my life, and to be able to manage and stay all the way right to the wheels fall off, man, it's just an honor and a privilege, because that's what I would want, right? So I try my best to live by the golden rule at the end of the day, is that, man, can I have Kevin or Brittany? Will they fight for me? Right? If that was me. So that was my whole model, man. And again, you know, it wasn't easy, but we made it to the end. And I tell my wife all the time, I will do it all over again, because at the end of the day, right, it's about holding down with love and grace and mercy, man, for your fellow brothers in your community.
So, Jim, I want to ask you, for the young men, well, just kids listening, what would some of your biggest advice be to just kids? Like, because, you know, especially in Oklahoma now, like, it's a bunch of kids need guidance here. A bunch of kids need guidance. So what would your overall message be to the kids?
Sure, man. My biggest 2 staples is this, and I've lived by it, and I hope my productivity has shown these 2 staples. Number 1, man, is who you hang around with, your association, your friends, is just as important as your own decision. It's your people you hang around with can, right? Here's the key, can determine your trajectory, because think about it. We eliminate Christopher Jordan. We eliminate one situation for Julius, and voila, he's doing what I'm doing in his lifetime, right? It was that simple, right? One person, one association. So that is a staple for me that says, man, it is vital for our next generation and young people to make sure that you got friends who are doing good things, who are making good decisions, right? And wanting to go the right direction. And number two is the biggest thing. I'm a big proponent of how important education is, right? I've been blessed and fortunate to use my basketball skills, went to college to get my degrees. So education for me, man, opened doors of opportunities that normally African Americans could not get into, right? And it's only because of that piece of paper. That piece of paper is magic. A lot of people don't think so, but it is, man. And particularly for in this marketplace in Oklahoma City, when you're able to educate, be able to articulate yourself, you have unlimited, right? I remember my dad told me when I was about 22, 23, he says, son, education is colorblind. And I thought about it, I was like, well, what does that mean? He says, if we can put everybody in one room and we all have the same education and we have the same ability to articulate, he said, they won't see your color. Man, I'm a living witness, Rob. I walked into some rooms, some boardrooms, some classrooms, man, that they don't look like me, but they accepted me as an educated man, not a black man, but an educated man. So to my young people, don't settle for whatever you have in education. Get to the highest level of education possible, because the more you know, the better equipped you are, the more unstoppable you become.
Okay, so I want to piggyback off that question, because a lot of my clients that are getting ready to get into their senior year and they're thinking about college, and some of them, because I'm here in Texas, some of them haven't been outside of the city in which they were born in, but they desire to go to schools in Houston or schools in Alabama or Tennessee. Could you share one of your stories about one of the hardest struggles of college for you? Because I heard the story about you transferring schools. You went from an HBCU to a predominantly public white institution. So what was the struggle that you could share with them to give them some hope on the transition of college?
Yeah, sure. I come from an all-black high school. So naturally, the HBCU was a natural path for me, all black students. So I was used to that, right? Some minority professors. And then voila, I switched schools. I go to a school here in Oklahoma City that was predominantly white, pretty much all white, and all white professors. I'm the only black student, so it flip-flopped. So for me, it was different, right? Everybody started looking at me in the class like, what do you think about this, Jimmy? Right? I wasn't used to that. He's the token black guy. Right. So that dynamic was different. However, I'll say this, Brittany, it was one of the greatest things that happened to me, because what it did, it gave me the all black experience. And then it gave me back to reality, right? Which is a community that looks all differently and kind of dominated in this marketplace by white. So it allowed me to take my experiences in my life and in my circle and in my community and figure out how to connect those dots with somebody who doesn't look like me. So my encouragement to all the other students out there is that, we live in a world that's diversified, and don't box yourself in of what a college or a cohort looks like, because here's reality, Brittany. In my working career, right, I'm always working with people that are from all different type of backgrounds. So you're never really going to get a chance, right, to work with somebody who looks just like you only, right? So yes. You got to learn how to communicate with all walks of life. So I think both of my experiences, man, played a huge role into how to manage people. So as a professor, you got people in my class that all look different, right? And you have to learn how to communicate and manage coursework and presentations that benefit all walks of life. So in my opinion, looking back in 2020 as a professor, man, doing that experience for doing different colleges was my biggest advantage, because a lot of professors were like, well, I'm having a hard time, and this is a real story. I'm having a hard time to cater to a certain amount of groups. I know what they're saying, right? The white
Right,
professors saying
right.
having a hard time connecting with having a hard time connecting with African American students. I said, hey man, here's my 1, 2, 3 recipe for you. So I think having both sides of the fence, wrapping that up, man, it has given me an advantage when talking about how to deal with just people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could attest to that. And so since you're our first guest on our first show, I will go ahead and share this news with you. But Kevin, myself, and the rest of the team over at Bridging the Gap, we're actually working on taking Bridging the Gap on a college tour to be able to bring diversity to the table within diversity and inclusion programs to help equip the leaders of tomorrow. Because if you can't identify with everybody that's sitting at the table, then there's going to leave somebody at the table unwelcome to your ideas or unthought of in your interventions within companies. And I think that dealing with workforce, because I will specialize in industrial and organizational psychology, I think that's what we're missing as far as people skills. You can't people everybody if you can't reach the people, period. And so we wanted to share that gem with you because you are a very motivating factor for us in reaching out to the younger people, and especially in the realm of education. So thank you so much for being a light for us and helping us leave our legacy behind, because it is important.
Absolutely. That's exciting news. I think your idea of reaching college campuses is amazing. It is a much needed service, man. And I'm excited about what you all are going to do.
Jimmy, me personally, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
We talked about, diversifying, and, the situation with Julius was, it was an all white jury, you know what I mean? Super biased. So what, in Oklahoma, talking to Oklahoma, so what would you like to see to get Oklahoma back on track?
Great question. I think we've got to start at the top with leadership, right? So we've got to get people who are qualified that are willing to get into these positions, such as, right, judges, prosecutors, DAs, attorney generals, even criminal defense attorneys that are willing to, how can I say it nicely, not concerned with money, but we're concerned with impact for people, right? Because, money's money. Money comes and goes. But if we're chasing money, you're never really going to be able to impact the way you're supposed to impact. So we need servanthood individual and leaderships to get into these judge positions that won't look like just one type of person. Here we go. You got probably 85% of the suspects coming through a courtroom. The judges and the prosecutors don't look like those individuals. So because of that, you don't have any relatability. You have no palpable, you have no empathy, and then you treat these people like a number. And because of that, you can manage and contort the juries, right, that are picked to be on these cases. And then they all white. You think, well, how does that happen? Right? Because we don't have no skin in the game. So I think to take a bomb and boom, blow the system up, we've got to get people like Kev and Brittany and other willing voices that's willing to educate themselves and go after these power positions to help change the narrative, help change the conversation. Right? You won't believe. I go into some small town, real story. So some small communities in Oklahoma City, right? And they don't look like me. And I go in and I'm promoting these things for Oklahoma City, and they're looking at it. And they're like, basically they're saying, you're Black. And I say, yes, I am. Right. And they say, you know what? We've never heard these type of ideas, right, from a non-political standpoint. I said, well, that is how we change this ball game, right? We infiltrate the system that's been so drawn down with political strife, man, and recreate, what servanthood looks like. So that's a long way of saying, Kev, to change the system, we got to get people that's willing to dive into these positions that don't care about red or blue, but care about help serving people.
Definitely.
Brittany, do you have any questions before I get to this last one? Or are you good?
Oh yeah. So my last question for you, Jimmy, with the Shammy is actually for us, because we are a new birth organization in the realm of social justice. What is something that you would like to see from us as a new grassroots organization coming in the game, because it does require skin in the game, and we are willing to do the work, and we have so many young people that are flocking to us and becoming family and wanting to become a part of our organization. So what is something that you would like to see us accomplish within this first year of us getting started?
I think through my experience, what I would love to see you all do is combine a group and start going to these meetings, county commissioner meetings, city council meetings, district attorney council meetings, showing up, right? And showing them physically that we've got this group of fired up young people that's here to learn, A, and then B, we're ready to use what we learned to be a voice. So that's what I haven't seen yet. And I learned that from my experience that I thought, man, 10 years ago, I should have been going to county commissioners meeting. I should have been going to these kind of meetings, right? Getting more people involved about what is really going behind these closed doors. Because here's the truth, Brittany, probably 90% of our community has no idea what's going behind the curtains, right? So what I'd like to see Bridging the Gap in your group do is show up with numbers to these meetings. Because here's what's going to happen. If I'm a commissioner and your group comes to the meetings consistently, I'm going to say, hey, A, they're smart enough to figure out they need to be here. And then B, they're working on something. Right. Yeah. So the young people are working on something. So that allowed me to say, I need to be on my A game, because we got some people out here that's in this part of this next generation that's really concerned.
Hey man, that remind me of, being a sports player, and the coach asking, hey, do you want to be in a starting five? My answer was always no, because I wanted to observe what was going on on the court before I stepped on, and was the element of surprise. So yeah, I like that answer.
Nice.
Jimmy, I just wanted to, me personally, just to give you your flowers early, man, because mentorship and seeing somebody like me, how we've been saying in this realm of social justice, I just want to thank you for anytime I call, got a text, whatever you are, you're always there to answer, yeah, I hope you run again. I really I hope you keep winning, basically. I just man, I just don't have enough good things to say about you. I tell everybody, I'm like, Jimmy's my mentor, Jimmy's my mentor, I know Jimmy Lawson, I know, so
I think sometimes Kevin be about to cry, Jimmy. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey, it's not that deep. No.
Did you ever know you was my hero music?
But man, like for real, I just, man, because man, y'all stupid. No, I just wanted to tell you, man, because like showing up and everything is key. And like for me to be such, I'm 21 years old, and seeing somebody that's involved in so much stuff, and that they'll answer a text back as soon as I, you know what I mean, and you always, like I said, you always answered, always text back. You're here now, you're a good mentor to have. So so I just wanted to say thank you. We at Bridging the Gap, thank you.
Yes, thank you, H.
Yes,
for even taking the time out your schedule to make room for Bridging the Gap. And us being a young organization, you've worked with so many phenomenal people. So for you to even step on our platform, we are super grateful and indebted to you. So whatever you need as far as partnership with future campaigns or whatever, we're more than willing to help you and step up and not just talk about it, but we're gonna be about it. That's the thing, because like my grandmother always used to say, if you spend time talking about it, that's more time you spend not doing it. So we're not gonna talk on it on this episode. We're just gonna show up and do it and be about it.
Awesome, man. Thanks again, Kevin, man, for your amazing words and remarks. That means a lot to me, man. I watched my father, be an amazing mentor for my friends. I was too young to figure out what my dad was doing at the time, right? Picking up kids, playing basketball. I'm like, hey, where all the parents at, right? Pops pick all the players up. But what he was doing was pouring into these young men's lives, man, in an easy way, using the game of basketball. And I watched these young men, not have mothers, not have grandmothers, fathers locked up, et cetera, et cetera. But when my father passed, all these young men we're all grown men now. So all these men show up at the funeral and saying, yo, it was because of Mr. Lawson, right, that helped change my perspective in my life. So, I made it a challenge for myself. I say, hey, man, if I could just help one person, help one soul, help one direction, man, mission accomplished. So again, I thank you for your amazing words, man. It makes me feel good that we're headed in the right direction. And we're just beginning. We have a lot of lives to touch, a lot of lives to change, man. And hopefully at the end of the day, as boys and men say, at the end of the road,
at the end of the road.
At the end of the road, we hope that we have completed our purpose and assignment in our lives.
Okay, cool deal,